Deborah O'Toole, textile artist, and today I'm going to show you how I made these little textile Christmas tree ornaments. Now, I've got to admit that while I love Christmas, I struggle to get excited about Christmas too early. I like it when it's December and I feel like it's the Christmas lead up is really happening. But when it's October, November and I see Christmas decorations up and start to hear Christmas carols, I struggle to get excited about it. But of course, when you're doing a Christmas project, it's important to get in early, otherwise you won't get your Christmas projects done in time for Christmas. So that's why I have started early this year. I'm sure that all of you in the Northern Hemisphere are starting to rug up for your wintry white Christmas, but here in far north Queensland, Australia, where I am, we're getting to sweltering weather at the moment, and I'm really looking forward to the end of this week when I get some air conditioning installed in my studio, so I'll be cool as a cucumber when I do these videos rather than sweating, as you can see at the moment. All right, so let's talk about these little ornaments. What I've basically done is taken two circular motifs, and I do have on an earlier video full instructions on how I do my little quilted textile motifs. That particular project is a floral piece, but you can do it with a circle or any shape you like, really. So if you do need a refresher, just go back to that video and check it out. And once you've got the technique of those quilted motifs, you can grab two and put them together. I put them together because the back of the motif is usually pretty messy with the beading, lots of stitching going on at the back, which is a little bit unsightly. So I do put them together and then stitch them together with a bit of a blanket stitch, just with some wool, tapestry thread. And before I do that, I put the hanger into it, but I do explain all of that in this video. The size I've used for this is just about palm size. I think it's a good size to hang on a Christmas tree or even around your house. It can be any size really. The reason why I've got this size is because I just happen to have a roll of gaffer tape hanging around the studio, and I just thought that this size would be a perfect size to place on the fabric and trace around. But like I said, you can use any size that you like. So the other thing that you can do with these ornaments, as well as use them as Christmas decorations, is to take a really good photo of them, and then you can send that file to a company such as Redbubble, who are in Melbourne, Australia. And Redbubble will take your file and print that file or that design onto all sorts of products like t-shirts, notebooks, phone covers. But what I like to do is to have them printed onto greeting cards. I've ordered my greeting cards already and hopefully they'll arrive soon, and then I can send out Christmas greeting cards that have my very own design on them. So what you do need to do is to take a very good high resolution image of them. I just took my photo on the iPhone. So as long as your phone is of a good quality and can take good pictures, and you've got a nice steady hand and you can be sure that that image is completely in focus, then you'll have a really good file to send off to then get some prints done of it. And the other thing that you could do with this motif, while the motif is one-sided, so don't stick them together, but you can just use one piece and just pick up some blank cards. I just got these from Kmart. I think a packet of 10 was about $4 or $5. And you can glue or stitch or double-sided tape your actual motif to a greeting card. Of course, it doesn't have to be Christmas. It can be any kind of occasion, but it just makes a really lovely special occasion greeting card for somebody who's maybe getting married or a very special birthday, or of course Christmas. And hopefully the recipient of this card will treasure it because it's got your very own original handmade little design on it. And they could put that in a frame, or they could just have it up there on their windowsill or their mantelpiece, and yeah, have a little bit of your artwork in their home. So that's another little good project that you can take away from this. So I've taken some photos and a little bit of video of this process of making these ornaments. So I'll talk it through with you now. All right, so here I've started by gathering all my fabrics together, and these are just a whole bunch of remnants, things that I've had for a long time. There are some silks, satins, some silver lame there, and you can see an old doily that I've started to cut up. And the beautiful thing is that the doily, when you start to cut it up, you get some lovely snowflake shapes, so they're particularly appropriate for this Christmassy project. I really just love using remnant fabrics and things that have been donated to me or old clothes because it's great to just sort of use things up. I rarely go out and buy fabric for new projects. I just seem to have stashes of things that I can just have on hand and use. I've put them together in bags of colorways so I'm not sifting through piles and piles of fabric to find the colors that I want. So I was able to just go to my white and silver bag and find some lovely fabrics for this project in the bag. And here you can see my backing fabric, which is just a piece of old sheet, which you can see I've already been using it for another project. It really doesn't matter what you use for the backing because you won't be seeing it anyway, so just something that's easy to sew through is fine. And the batting that I've used to go in between the top and the back layers is just some really lovely fine bamboo batting. And then it's just a matter of layering up those pieces. So you have the backing, the batting, and then the top nice silky fabric or whatever you've chosen so that it's ready for you to start to add a little bit of design. So here what I've done is cut out some of that silver lame into various shapes. I rarely go with anything that's symmetrical or straight. I just like things to be a bit organic. I guess that's just my style. And although what I've got going on here does look a little bit basic, I always bear in mind that I will be layering up extra bits of fabric and those doilies are going to go on next, and there'll also be a fair bit of hand beading and sequining to go on as well, not to mention the machine sewing that will add an extra dimension. So right now it just does look a little bit plain, but that's okay for now. So after the design pieces have been tacked onto the fabric, I take the whole thing over to the sewing machine, and I'm using a free motion machine embroidery foot, which is different to the walking foot. I'm using some metallic machine embroidery thread to stitch down the design, and I know there's a fair bit of frayed fabric you can see there. It's not a traditional applique technique. I'm basically just stitching down the design and also going through that circular perimeter of the ornament, so I'll be able to cut the piece out later on and it will all stay together. So time for the next layer to go on. Here I've got my pieces of cut out doily and arranged them where I want them. Once again, you can see that I don't like things to be matching or symmetrical in any way. And then I can use the machine stitching to enhance that design style, I guess. So it's not just constructional, it's also decorative, the stitching that I'm doing here. And here's a picture of the back of the work where you can really see how much stitching I actually did on the piece. And then it's just a matter of cutting the pieces out so that they're individual circular motifs ready for beading. Alright, so here I am starting to bead the piece. I've only shown you beading one side of it. I did have both sides, but the video was just going to go so long, so you can imagine what I would have done with the second piece. I do show you at the end, but anyway, here's me beading the first piece, and I always put it into fast motion because this process can take hours. So I always start with a fairly large centerpiece and then I work out from that. And that idea really does work well with this sort of snowflake idea. As usual, I've got a range of sizes and types of beads, even though I generally keep them to a bit of a limited color way. So the piece has the texture of lots of different sizes and types and shapes of beads, but without too much color, which can make it a little bit busy for this particular thing. Okay, so here I have skipped ahead and here I am just tying off that last little bit of thread for the last bead, and there you can see the piece completely beaded. More beads than you'd think, and yeah, there's the back side. Yeah, so I like it to be fairly blingy. Now that's the other piece, the second piece that I had already beaded. I'll put them together and I need to make a tie or a hanger so that it can hang on the Christmas tree. This thread or tie that I've got is some sort of vintage braid that I inherited from my nan. It's been on that roll for quite a while, so it was quite loopy. And the first thing I needed to do was find a natural top of the piece. Even though it was round, I did find a little bit of a pointy side, so I've decided to use that as the top. And it was a little bit of a feat getting that stitched on. Thread kept getting a little bit tangled up there, but anyway, I got the thing on. I had to make sure that it was going to be fairly secure because I don't want it to pull out of the piece when it's sort of all together with the other bit. Okay, I've given it a little bit of a trim because it did get a little bit fluffy and fuzzy during handling, and the other one as well. And then it's just a matter of putting the two pieces together, making sure that the edges do match up. And this thread that I've used for the binding is just a tapestry thread. You could use wool, it's very much like wool. And I've just done a simple blanket stitch around the edge. And what that does is, well, it attaches the two pieces together to start with. And it also sort of makes the edges a little bit more secure because I haven't really hemmed them or anything like that. It was a little bit tricky getting the tapestry thread to cooperate, but I got there in the end, and here I am just tying off that last little bit. I had to make sure that the thread at the end was going to be nice and secure but not poke out. And then it was just a matter of snipping off that last bit of thread, and that's one of them completed. All stitched together, two sides of beaded motif, and ready to hang on the Christmas tree. Okay, so I hope that that's inspired you to perhaps create a Christmas ornament of your own. And if you are interested in ordering greeting cards with my design, I've got the traditional red and green or the more sort of snowflakey silver and gold available in the greeting cards and a few other products as well. So do check out the link in the description below so that you can find out how to order those. So I do hope that you enjoyed this video. Please go ahead and like it and share it with all your creative friends. And be sure to hit subscribe so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Until then, I'll see you next time. Bye.